Hello and welcome to the Empower Her Collective show, formerly the Dr. Celia Corbo show. I'm your host, Dr. Celia Corbo, entrepreneur, functional health practitioner, and licensed chiropractor. Join us as we dive into stories of remarkable women making a difference and transforming their dreams into reality. Get ready to be inspired, empowered, and uplifted by the incredible women of the Empower Her Collective. Today, we have Emily, founder of the creative Bodega. Emily is a solopreneur, marketing and branding expert, Canva Verified Expert, course creator, and mom to two elementary age kiddos. 10 years ago, she left the corporate fashion industry to pursue her dream of starting her own business and spending more time with her family. She started by nailing down foolproof content creation systems with the help of Canva to make posting on Instagram simple and effective, without the dread or anxiety that typically comes with daily posting to grow your business. She loves to teach female service-based solopreneurs her content framework so they can consistently create content about a subject that lights them up in a way that connects with and grows their audience. Hi, Emily. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. So happy to be here.
What an amazing bio. It's so inspirational, honestly.
I'm listening to you read it. I'm like, that sounds pretty good. Yeah.
That's you.
Yeah.
That's why you have
funny.
such an amazing following on Instagram and you're so loved. I can feel it every time I go to your account. I listen to your stories. I can feel the passion for what you're doing over a screen. And this is literally the first time we've ever met.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. Ever.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about yourself. I know that was a pretty good bio, but can you share more about your story into going to become an entrepreneur and all the maybe hiccups or the setbacks that you faced?
Yeah. So, to be super honest, my husband and I were sort of forced into entrepreneurship. He lost his job when I was 6 months pregnant with our first baby.
Oh, wow.
And it was pretty stressful because he was definitely supporting the family more than I was. And believe it or not, he was unemployed for an entire year. I went back to work. I was working in interior design at that point. He stayed home with our son, which I was wildly jealous of him. And, I had the job, so I had to go back. And the more he interviewed to get back into the finance industry, the more he didn't want to go. He was like, I don't really want to do this anymore. And so I was like, well, if you could do anything, what would you do? And we actually met at a CrossFit gym. He was a beloved coach there. And he was like, I would love to start our own CrossFit gym. And I was like, what? So during this time, I got pregnant again. Let that be a lesson. You can get pregnant while breastfeeding. My son was only 5 months old. And I was like,
wow.
Yeah. So our daughter came along 14 months later. And we decided, I remember being in the hospital room with just having had her. And we were like, let's do this. Like it's, so we decided to open a CrossFit gym, and we had a mentor. We hired a business mentor and invested in that like right away. And it was one of the best decisions we could have ever made. Scary, expensive, but fast tracked us to where we needed to be with growing our business. And he was like, I'm going to challenge you to posting for your gym 30 days in a row on Instagram. And I was like, what? Like, the only thing I'm posting is cute pictures of my babies. Like, I know nothing. And he was like, well, there's this free website called Canva. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, that honestly, like the rest is history. I have a pretty creative background. So I went to school for fashion design. I worked in fashion. I worked in interior design. But I hadn't really been tapping into that creative side for a while. And like, I just immersed myself in Canva and nailing down our brand colors and finding templates. And like, it didn't feel like work. It was so fun for me. But I quickly realized that I needed a system because it would be like 9:00 at night. I had a 3-month-old and a 17-month-old, and I hadn't posted. And I just lay there. I remember just crying. Like, I can't, like, what the hell am I going to post? Like, and so I was like, I got to get a system. Like, I'm such a systems type person. I needed a framework. I needed a system. And so over the next month, I just started really nailing down like, okay, this is what you're going to post every day. This is how you're going to start batching ahead. And gyms started noticing. So we did start getting clients from our posts from,
Mhm.
I was starting, Reels had just come out. So I
Okay.
was forcing myself to do one reel a week. I hated every second of it. Like I hated being on camera. And but I did it. And so Jim started noticing, our mentor noticed, and they were like, can you come and work for us and teach other gyms how to do this?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I was like, I would love to.
Yeah.
So I started mentoring, and I ended up having like 7 45-minute calls a day. And my kids were in preschool at this
Mhm.
point, and it just was a lot. It was a lot to be on calls that long. I just felt
Mhm.
I would just like fall on the ground when the calls were over, but then I had to get myself back up and go get my kids, and like,
Your day's not done yet.
whew, it was a lot. So, I started listening to Amy Porterfield's Digital Course Academy and on walks around my neighborhood. I
Mhm.
had learned about her from Jenna Kutcher, who's another marketing expert. And, she started, those classic, like, are you trading time for money? Are you
Yeah.
trading time for money? And I was at a point with my current mentoring job where I had no more hours. I could not make more money.
Yeah.
And I was actually struggling to even keep up with the hours that I had because of how much it drained me.
Mhm.
And I said to my husband, like, I'm going to buy this course. Like, it's $2,000. I know we don't have it, but like, I'm going to make an online course. And
Mhm.
I was actually going to make it about meal prepping because I was our nutrition coach. I
Right.
was mentoring all these gyms. It just made sense. It was safe. And after
Yeah.
the first couple of weeks, I was like, I want nothing to do with talking about meal prepping. Like, I'm so tired of this narrative. Like,
Yeah.
so my husband was like, well, if you could do it about anything, what would it be? And I was like, branding in Canva. And he was like, do it. And I literally, within 48 hours, came up with a business name, started an email list, grabbed my Instagram handle, and got going. And, the thing is, I didn't have the time. I literally was running a gym with my husband as the head
Yeah.
nutrition coach. I was a mentor for someone else's business. I had 2 preschoolers, and I was so determined to get more freedom of time and be my own boss that I was just
Yeah.
like, I'm going to wake up at 4:30 in the morning to batch my content. I'm going to batch on the weekends when my kids are sleeping. Like,
Mhm.
I had that drive was so strong, and the rest is kind of history. I actually launched a course 6 months later.
Yeah.
I made $12,000 in 5 days on my first launch.
Wow, that's
And
amazing.
I was like, I think I've got something.
Yeah.
I think I'm on to something. And
Yeah.
yeah.
That's,
So
you know what? I usually say, like with stories like this, I say the universe has found you, and then you think you found it, but it really goes in, I think, the opposite direction because you were so focused on building a gym, right? This was like, this is our thing. We're going to do
it's our
CrossFit.
thing.
And then this other thing just landed in your lap. And it was exactly what you were doing for so long back before when you were being an employee for a company,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's amazing.
Everything led me to that point for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's an amazing story. And you know what? I really appreciate how tell about the uncertainties that you had financially with,
Mm,
investing, because I think a lot of the times, especially right now on social media, there's so many coaches and
yeah.
it's become a consumer app, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But you really have to find the person that you are trusting in and that you feel drawn to, because to make that financial investment, it can be really scary at the very beginning.
Absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
still scared every time I make one. I do so much research,
Yeah.
but I have to really align with the person. Like, I just have
Yeah.
to feel really good about them. Like, we could be buddies outside of this Instagram world. And yeah, that's very important. But the
Yeah.
only way you're going to like feel that way is if you are hearing their voice and seeing their face. And
Yeah.
like, that's something a lot of, like, I work on a ton with my clients and members, is like,
Hmm.
you got to get your face out there.
Yeah.
You just have to.
Absolutely. You know what? Again, because it is a very cold interaction, you see a video that you like on Instagram or on any social media platform, and you're like, okay, I'll like it. But do I know this person enough to follow in their profile and to invest in their programs? And that's where you have to just show up, because I heard that there's like a statistic, sorry, you might know this better than me, where only like 5 to 10% of your followers actually see your content.
Correct. It's
Yeah.
so low. And that's why, oh
crazy.
my gosh. And everyone gets in their head like, oh, about their posts. I'm like, you're giving yourself too much credit. Like not that many people are seeing it. You're actually lucky if they see it, which is why, I have a lot of stories people and I have a lot of feed people, but I have more stories people, I think. So like, that's why it's important to kind of like hit both of those areas. I always say like my feed is my storefront. It's put together. It's really, organized and curated, and it like makes you interested. You write your bio, your feed. And then if you want to like come in and like get more of me and like learn more about me and feel more connected, you're popping into my stories. That's you coming into my dressing room, like coming into the store, trying something on. And then the ultimate goal for me is the email list. Like I'm trying to get everybody over to that email list.
I heard it in another coaching program that I'd invested in a couple years ago, where they're like, you want people to go on your email list because God forbid your account gets hacked, or I don't know, let's say one day, like knock on wood, like social media goes under and, Instagram just vanishes.
Absolutely.
Where do you have these people to keep in contact with them? And that hit me hard, because there's always the possibility of something going under. As successful as it is, you just never know, right?
Oh, I've had good friends with very big accounts lose access. Somebody hacked it. They try to ransom it back to them, which is horrifying.
That
to me.
is
like
wild.
Yeah, I mean, like, luckily we've got the blue check now, and I do, trust Instagram to help me out if that happens. It's still terrifying though.
Yeah.
All that work gone.
I know.
So,
It is scary, because again, there is this pressure that people put on themselves. At least I know that I do, to post more often, like at least once a day, or to make that investment in time, to have that like free recognition that you're hoping Instagram will put out for you. And then for it to leave is like, oh my God, no.
Right. And going back to that statistic, 5 to 10% of your audience even sees what you're posting. And the reach is getting harder and harder for non-followers. And that again is where that email list is so crucial. When I hear people are launching something and they're only using Instagram, I'm like, oh, like my launches are not successful really because of Instagram. It's because of my email list. Like getting in someone's inbox is a much more sacred, special, unique place to be versus this crowded feed, where you're just like, oh, I hope it gets in front of them. Like, know something's landing in their inbox.
Yeah. So I want to talk about your system, but I want to just talk a little bit first about this email list that you have, because I'm actually on your email list.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. Your emails are gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
And it's true. Like, I've clicked, I've looked, I've explored, and then I follow you. And again, I see your content a lot. So it is always popping up for me, but there is that person that maybe might see you once in a while. So how do you nurture your email list, and how do you filter your email list as well? So you're making sure that those clicks are high and that you're getting that good engagement off of Instagram in a different way.
So how do I nurture? Number one is I provide a ton of value, like a ton of free value. I'm constantly saying like, try this, look at this, click on this, try to make this post. Have you seen this template? Like, have you seen this trend going around? So like, there's a lot, if you open my email, like there's going to be something worthwhile to help you sort of grow, increase engagement, get inspired, that kind of thing. I also talk to you like you're one of my buddies. Like I'm not trying to use big language. I'm not trying to be anything I'm not. And I think that was a big roadblock for me, was starting my email list, my newsletter, was like, oh my God, like I'm not a writer. Like words are hard. I'm the creative. Like, let me sit in Canva all day long and make beautiful graphics. But then when I have to put words together, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Thank God for AI.
Right. Yeah. I just had to be like, okay, just pretend like you're emailing your best friend. Just like, what would you say to Courtney? Like, what would you say? And I think about it like, if I still were in a 9 to 5 with coworkers, what would I talk about on that Monday morning when we all came back to the office? Like that little
Mhm.
chit chat before the boss came in.
Yeah.
I think that, what would I tell them, that
Yeah.
happened this week? And so it is personal. I try to tell stories about my family,
Yeah.
my kids. Like, it's not all business.
Mhm. Mhm.
But it's this nice mix of personal and business and a lot of value.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. As far as how do I get people to click things, I mean, I'm probably doing things wrong. I include a lot of clickable things in my newsletter. And I do track, what got the most clicks.
Yeah.
And, it's funny. What gets the most is typically like, oh, here's my favorite like chapstick from Amazon. Like that. Literally, I'm like a Canva and Instagram expert, and like that's what people want. Oh,
Yeah.
here's my favorite jeans I just got from Zara. Everyone's clicking it. So,
Yeah.
you know, and that just shows people, they're not only there
Yeah.
for the Canva and the Instagram, like they want to know, fashion is something I love, and
Yeah.
I'm a little bit of a shopper. So, I've worked that in sort of as one of my personal brands, and I think people are here for it.
Yeah, but again, I think it makes them connect with you
It
on this
does.
deeper level. So then they feel like they're your friend and they've never even met you. And I think that's really
Correct.
strong when you're building a business, especially when you're a solo entrepreneur, because
Hmm.
it's quite lonely,
It's super
when,
lonely.
yeah. And, even though your husband is helping you with the business and you have a support around you, you're still the main decision maker. So to have
Absolutely.
this network that you've built of
Hmm.
people that love you, support you, want to be in your circle, it's very powerful.
Super powerful. It's one of the
Yeah.
reasons why I fell in love with Instagram. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not on other platforms. If I am, it's like something just automatically repurposing for me. I'm not
Yeah.
engaging. I've tried TikTok. So cold.
Yeah.
So it just wasn't for me.
Me too.
Pinterest, I'm overwhelmed. I don't even know what the heck's going on over there. I'm not a Facebook girl, like my mom's on I'm not on Facebook.
Yeah.
Instagram is my place. And it's also where
Yeah.
I've been able to build like really beautiful, authentic relationships through the DMs. Like, it does
Yeah.
go down in the DMs
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
me. And that's been really important. It feels like a safe, happy, positive place for me. And that's been really important.
I think that is super important to feel like you can go to this platform that usually people resent so much because they feel like
Yes.
it's another job, and just
Hmm.
have so much fun with it. And just,
Yeah.
again, I've started looking at Instagram because I'm also very heavily on Instagram,
Yeah.
that it's this amazing free tool that I have to connect with anybody in the world.
Hmm.
Why am I dreading this so much? But I think there's so much pressure to be on socials because, again,
Yeah.
there's so many people out there. So what is then your system that you either started with and how it evolved to be in love with Instagram and to have content always on the go? Because that is something even I struggle with,
Yeah.
getting better. But,
Hmm.
it's a system, like you mentioned.
It's a system. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, first of all, it was just really nailing down what I want to be known for. Like,
Yeah.
what are your content pillars? I don't veer from that, because God forbid I go viral for something that I'm not even want to be known for. And I've seen it happen to
Yeah.
people all the time. They're like,
It
oh, I
happened to me.
tie-dyed a, yeah, see? And you're like, no, now I have all these followers and they're not aligned.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like really getting clear. What do I want
Yeah.
to be known for? What do I want people to think of me? When they're like, I have a Canva question, I'm going to end. Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so getting very clear on my buckets, and also including in that some personal categories, right? Like
Mhm.
motherhood. Like for me, it's being a mom to small kids. Like, I
Yeah.
relate to a lot of followers on
Yeah.
that front. And just other things, I love like human design and Enneagram, and I'm like a smutty fantasy romance book reader. And like, I'll talk about that. I have a rescue pit bull, like, and people bond it. Like, so there's like these parts of my life that I like to share that people are like, me too. Right. Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
so nailing down your content pillars. And then for me, it's figuring out what type of posts I want to make per day. So for me, and I find that my audience is very like hot and ready to learn and
Yeah.
absorb Monday through Wednesday, like
Okay.
especially Monday. Like,
Yeah.
so I do an educational reel about Canva on Mondays. Like, I'm
Mhm.
teaching. On Tuesdays, I do a carousel that's either about content batching or Canva.
Mm-hmm.
On Wednesdays, I like to share either just a photo of myself with no text on it and just the values in the caption, me telling a story, trying to relate to people.
Mm-hmm.
Could be business, could be personal, or I do like a funny meme reel,
Yeah.
which are so hot right now, right? Like, so if
Yeah.
there's a trend going on, I might try to work that in. On Thursdays, I do a quote. Like
Mm-hmm.
when I first started, I didn't really have much to say. I didn't have the confidence. So it was other people's quotes. And I'd, of course,
Mm-hmm.
give them credit. And as time went on, I'm like, I've said some one-liners here or there that like I could start
Yeah.
sharing, right? So then it was like the Twitter looking quote with
Yeah.
my name. And
Yeah.
then on Fridays, I do something a little lighter, a little more fun for me. It's like a color story, a branding idea, some fonts that I think you should check out. So it's kind of light, creative. And
Mm-hmm.
on Saturdays, I'm always promoting something. So it's typically a freebie. I'm just promoting a freebie. So
Mm-hmm.
that's 6 days a week. So I'm not waking up on Wednesday like, what am I going to post today? Well,
Yeah.
I may say that, but I know what it's a photo of me or it's
Yeah.
so just taking that decision fatigue out has been so powerful for me.
That's huge. Yeah.
And then for any of them that need Canva templates, it's finding Canva templates that I plan to reuse. Like
Yeah.
I update them like every 6 months, maybe more. But I have
Mm-hmm.
like 2 options for each day in a couple colorways each, and I'm just rotating through them so that
Yeah.
the people that are starting from scratch with a new Canva template every time they post, stop. Like, stop the madness. You don't have time for that. And it's also not necessary. People actually love seeing familiar designs and
They
familiar.
do.
Yeah. Like, because
Yeah.
they know. People say to me, like, I know it's your design, but I don't even have to see your name. Like,
Yeah.
I know your templates now. I know your colors. And that familiarity is really
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
So then I have my, my Canva templates, and then I can batch. So the way I batch is I will focus only on Monday, and I will
Mm-hmm.
take like 2 hours and make, that's a high, that one takes me the longest time, those Canva how-to reels. So I'll get
Yeah.
like 4 done for the month. Then I
Okay.
move on to Tuesday and I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I need 4 carousels. What do I want to talk about? What can I reuse? I do a
Mm-hmm.
ton of repurposing and reusing from maybe 6 months in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I'll maybe update the colors. I'll maybe update the headline to see if I can get a little more engagement. But like 50% of my content at this point, after posting for 3 years, is repurposed for
I
sure.
remember actually one post, I think it was a post or a story that you had mentioned. You're like, I just made a course, but if you've been following me for so long, you basically have the course in my feed because
Binge
I'm
my
just
feed.
repurposing everything. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing that you've
Yeah.
just taken all of your ideas and combined it so it's easy to access. And I don't have to go through your whole feed. But if I want to, I could, but it's all
Correct.
there, right?
And I think people get really worried, like, oh, I don't want to give away too much. I don't want to
Yeah.
and I'm like, no. Because you're always going to have those people who want it
Yeah.
beginning, middle, end with a bow
Yeah.
on top in
Yeah.
order. They don't want to search for it. They want it to be beautifully presented and they want your input, right? So if
Yeah.
it's a live course, like they want your feedback on what they're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
So there is no such thing as giving too much away, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of that, and I batch ahead. So even if I'm only batching 3 days of the week, that's very freeing for me. Like,
Yeah.
knowing I just have to do, Thursdays and Saturdays, real time
Mm-hmm.
but I try to batch a month so that I'm 30
Yeah.
days ahead and I'm not, so that if my kids get sick or we go on vacation or life happens, which
Yeah.
let's all be honest, like life is constantly happening.
Yes.
So every female solopreneur that's like, oh, like I was posting and then this happened. And I'm like,
Yeah.
like,
That actually happened to me when we were moving in April. I was on a roll and then we moved and it took me like at least a month to get me back into regular posting. And I'm like, I cannot let this happen again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a way to work ahead. So I use
Yeah.
later.com
Mm-hmm.
to schedule everything in advance so that,
Yeah.
every day I'm not waking up and having to do something. People
Yes.
say, oh, but does that hurt your, engagement? You know what? They say no. So
Mm-hmm.
Instagram and Later are partners. So Instagram tells me no. And I just make sure that I'm sort of available within an hour after I know that that post is coming out to start replying to comments. Like, even if it hurts me a little bit, like for me, knowing that content's coming out without me having to do anything is well worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, because when you're on social media, at least when I am, I can get lost in doom scrolling. I
Oh.
can get lost in like comparing myself to this post or to that person. And
Hmm.
then it's like, oh, my mental health is not okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I have had to take a lot of people out of my feed because,
Yeah.
here I am. I have 110,000 followers completely organically, not bought,
Amazing.
no ads. Like,
Yeah.
I built that, and I still get like massive imposter syndrome. And I don't unfollow people, but I mute them. And I'm like, okay, I
Yeah.
know if I need some inspiration, I know where to find them, or like,
Yeah.
but I can't have them showing up on my feed every day because it's not making me feel good.
Absolutely. One of
Yeah.
the things I like to focus on with my clients is like balancing the brain, body, but also the business, because
Hmm.
having a healthy brain is also having a healthy business and vice versa. So, how
Hmm.
do you balance your brain and then ultimately your business? And what kind of tactics do you do to keep yourself mentally stable, for lack of a better word?
Yeah, yeah. So I would say one of the major things is that I create more than I consume. So
Okay.
I'm not a huge consumer of Instagram. I am not sitting there scrolling every day. If I'm on there, I'm replying to DMs, I'm replying to comments, and I'm getting off. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't sit there scroll. I don't waste my time scrolling.
Yeah.
I also do not sleep with my phone in my room. So
Hmm.
that
That's a
has
big
cut,
one.
oh my God. I mean, that has probably been one of the most drastic changes I've made in my life.
Yeah.
So I'm not scrolling in the morning before I get out of bed, and I'm not scrolling at night at all. I'm reading. I basically read instead.
Yeah.
So that's been a huge game changer for me. When my kids get home from school around 3:30, my laptop is, so I use our fourth bedroom as my office. It stays in my office. It does not come down to the kitchen. When they're home, it's like game over. And
Yeah.
I have a membership. So I like let my members know, or if I'm running my signature course, I let them know, like, this is why I built this business.
Hmm.
Nothing is an emergency. Like, no
Yeah.
offense, we're not like curing cancer here. If you have an issue, it's going to have to wait because my kids are literally number one. And I've
Yeah.
tried to, and I have fallen into the trap of trying to finish that one last thing.
Yeah.
And they're hungry and they're screaming at me, and I'm trying to type, and it's not good, right?
Yeah.
It's not good for me. I'm not giving the response I'm giving you 100%, and I'm not giving them
Yeah.
100%. And like, it's just not, it's a shit show. So,
Yeah.
I've had to really just have very strict technology rules.
Yeah.
Um, and that's been, I think, the biggest, the most impactful thing to not burn out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially because you get to make your own schedule. You get to do
Yeah.
whatever you want. But the
Mm.
whole point of having had this lifestyle in the first place was to spend more time with family, was to be more available. It was to have that freedom. And
Yeah.
I find even in the beginning of my career, I was like, wow, this is 24/7. Like
If,
it's
if it
it
can
can get
be.
there. It can be, yeah, and it's like I left an employee job 9 to 5 to go be my own boss,
Oh, I know.
take a paycheck for 24/7.
Do you see those? I see those reels going around too. It's like, I left my 9 to 5 to work
Yeah.
24/7. Like, and part of me is, I make excuses. I'm like, well, I love what I do. Like,
Yeah.
I love it, but it's also like sometimes you got to step away,
Gotta
and
balance
you
because
got to
you will burn
balance.
out.
You
Yeah.
will, like, go for that walk instead of,
Yeah.
spending 30 more minutes creating a post. Like, the world's
Yeah.
not going to end if the post doesn't come out. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But now being this entrepreneur, having this amazing business that you get to rely on as your full-time income, how have you been the most successful in the evolution of it? Like, what's been your most successful moment?
Ooh, what's what's been my most successful moment?
I mean, there's a lot that you've done. One of your followers,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing.
I mean, two sort of stand out. Well, there's a lot. There's like milestones, right? So
Yeah.
honestly, for me, hitting 10,000 followers, forget the 100,
Yeah.
hitting 10,000 followers in, I think it was a year and a half to 2 years, not overnight, not in 30
Yeah.
days. I'm not sitting here like, oh my God, in 30 days, I got 100. No.
Yeah.
And in a year and a half to 2 years, I got 10,000 followers. It was around New Year's. And that was like, I did it. Like I was very, very proud of that. Now
Yeah.
to get to 100, I had a reel go insanely viral 1 month after hitting 10,000
That's
followers.
amazing.
And I jumped from 10,000 followers to 75,000 followers in
Wow.
a month.
Yeah.
That was one of the most intense moments of my life. Like my anxiety was sky high. But hitting 10,000, I had a $96,000 launch this January, which was, my goal was actually 100, but you know what? I'm going to give myself credit. It was 96, which was mind blowing to me. That was on my signature 10-week course. That was a huge moment. And then I decided to open up a membership in April of this year, and I wanted 100 people. I was very nervous. I didn't know if I could even get 100, and I got 403. And that
Wow.
was one of the most like, oh my God, like
That's amazing. I just got
yeah,
chills.
I know.
Incredible.
It's still like, yeah. So those are like the three big, like, wow,
Yeah.
And geez, I mean, I could keep adding to this, Celia. Like my husband left his job. I started
Yeah.
making so much money that he could leave his 9 to 5. And now he's
Yeah.
pursuing something that he loves. That
Yeah.
was wow. Like, taking my family to Mexico on like my
Yeah.
kids' first flight, having the money to do that for 6 days and see their little faces on the plane and in Mexico. And like, it just brought me so much joy. I redid our kitchen with the
Mm-hmm.
money that I made last year. It was $100,000 project. Like, but
Wow.
now we have this space where we can all be. And I have that
Yeah.
island, I never had an island. And like, I wanted that so bad for our
Yeah.
family. And so just being able to like, do things like that just enhance our lives, have been really special.
You know what? It's those little moments that in the grand scheme of thing, when you look back, you're like, wow, these are huge. Like obviously doing a kitchen renovation, vacations, these are really big, big moments. But even those little subtle moments of launching a membership or,
Mm,
I'm going to put this post out there and it goes viral, like those little like blips of time, like they're also so impactful. And I think that as an entrepreneur, again, it can be lonely, but you really have to celebrate a lot
you
with
do.
yourself and with people around you to keep yourself going. So it's
You
amazing that you
do.
have these milestones, but also those really little moments to keep yourself encouraged and empowered.
Absolutely. Like, I think all of
Yeah.
us have probably like made that post and you're like, oh my God, I spent so long on that and it's going to do so well. And then you put it out and you're like, hello, where is everybody?
It's like 100 engagement. You're like, what?
And you're like, oh, and then like a week later, someone's like, that post that you made last week, like that, like changed my whole perspective, or you saved me so much time. And I'm like, okay. Like I
Yeah.
always tell myself, even if I'm helping one person, like
Yeah.
that's the goal. Like I just want to help make people's lives easier when it comes to content creation and more fun. I was like, this should
Yes.
be kind of fun. It should be like, this shouldn't be super, super stressful. I'd like you to put a little less pressure on yourself, try to have a little fun with it and see what happens,
Yeah.
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 But what would you say has been one of those times where you're like, I don't know if I can keep going with this. Am I even doing anything? I'm sure you've had those moments as well. And then how do you just like pick your socks back up and just keep trekking forward?
Oh my gosh. Full disclosure. I'm having one of those moments right now. Like
Oh, okay,
I'm
no, keep going.
Yeah, I know. Just
Yeah.
feeling confused,
Yeah.
feeling,
Yeah.
a little lost, feeling,
Yeah.
am I doing, am I talking about the right things? Is this what people want? You start questioning
Yeah.
everything. Um, so I actually just wrote in my newsletter, like, I'm going to get a little quiet. I think
Mm-hmm.
I need a little space and a little time to just like think about, what do I want? How do I want to get there? Who am I
Yeah.
serving? Like, who are my people? So, and then I also start like looking, like, so I just hired a mentor. I hired a business mentor. She's also a therapist, like
Mm-hmm.
to work through some of the issues I'm sort of having around money, right?
Yeah.
Like when you
Huge.
have a $96,000 launch, suddenly if you host a masterclass and you only make $5,000, I feel like a failure. And like,
Yeah.
that's not okay. Like
Yeah.
all of my success is starting to feel a little tied up with the money. And like,
Mm-hmm.
so like, I'm just being real with you, like that's
Yeah.
my
Thank you.
struggle. Yeah. Like that's where I'm kind of having to pause a little bit and say, okay,
Yeah.
like, let's remember like why you got into this. How much do you need? Because I'm not one of those people that's like more, more, more,
Mm-hmm.
like I don't, if I make as much as I made last year or even less, like, I think I'm okay. Like, I think we're
We'll be fine.
okay. Yeah. I think we're going to be fine. Like, yeah.
I think
So
it's just your expectation of yourself. You've hit that upper, like that bar, and you're like, holy shit, like I did that.
yeah,
Let's keep doing that. And then when you don't, you're like, what happened? What was wrong with me? Am I not on the right path? And then all those self-doubt questions start coming into your brain. Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
Totally. So yeah, it's, yeah. So I left definitely, I'm going to lean on the mentor. I'm going to get a little quiet. I might even take a couple weeks off Instagram. I've never done it.
Yeah.
I've never, since I started the Creative Bodega, taken time off.
Wow.
And I feel like I'm just sort of being called to like take that pause right now
Yeah. Yeah.
and kind of focus on myself and my business a little bit and then come back,
Yeah.
stronger and better. But it's really hard for me. It's really hard for me to
Yeah.
commit to doing it.
Well, because then you're like, did I just let everything go that I built and spent
Correct.
so much time to make what it is now? But usually, including with my own journey in being an entrepreneur, when I feel like I need to go quiet or when I feel like I need to take a step down or, just eliminate social media for a little while, something bigger comes into action. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I needed time to process. I call it my transition period. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going
Mm-hmm.
through a transition period.
I think I'm going through a transition period. And a
Yeah.
lot, this year, it's like you launched this membership. That's been a huge adjustment
I want
for
to talk about
me.
that a little bit more after this.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot. That's been a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I totally agree. I think something wonderful is on the other side, but I just need
Yep.
to give myself that
Yeah.
space to even process what it is. And if you're just grinding every day and showing up and posting, it's like, I'm just not finding those pockets of time and space to really work it out.
I totally agree with you. I just finished reading a book. Well, when we post this episode, it'll be a while from now, but
Yeah.
it's called The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. I don't know if you've read about it or have
No.
heard of this author before, but he's a very like spiritual type author. And that's where I got inspired to start my EmpowHer collective, because he just surrendered his life to the universe. And he was a yogi living in Florida in, I don't even know where, but I think Arkansas, if that makes sense. Then he had a building company, and then he had $1 billion software programming company. All three things not related to each other, but he just surrendered his life to the universe and just listened to when it was talking. If he needed to take some time to himself and needed to keep going. And the life that he had, or that he still has, is just amazing. It was like beyond what he could have ever wanted. And I'm just like, wow, what would my life be like
Right.
if I just surrendered and I just said, you know what, whenever I get an idea or I need a transition time, I'm just going to let that happen. I'm just going to let myself be in flow and not be so much in my left logical brain so much, because I know that's being my block,
Yeah.
And I was so inspired I highly recommend you read that book.
Cool.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's amazing. And it's just like, I feel like that's such a good book to just let things flow, let things go, Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. But speaking about this, this membership, because you did just post it in April. I saw the launch for it and everything. It looks amazing. The Coven, you called it, which I thought, ooh, what a fun name. Can you tell us
Yes.
a little bit about the membership, what people get when they join the membership or how long it is? Just give us a little bit more details.
Yeah. So it's a month to month kind of thing. You can purchase a year in advance and, save 2 months worth if you want, but otherwise it's month to month. There's no commitment. I don't require people to be in there any amount of time. If it's not serving you, I want you to feel free to go. But it is basically weekly calls. And the goal is to help you get more consistent, more inspired for Instagram. So we do batch and brew calls every other week where we're just all literally getting on for an hour and a half and turning off our cameras and just working and batching content ahead. So it's
Oh,
just
wow.
that
Amazing.
accountability, I think, goes
Yeah.
a really long way. And then on the off weeks, it's either me presenting or a guest speaker, or it's a hot seat call. So, focusing on 5 of the members and just kind of digging into what the issues are, how we can help. I'm presenting on, anything from stories to starting an email list to growing on Instagram. Guest speakers are things that I'm not an expert in. We had someone who came on and did vision boarding and manifesting. We had a lawyer come on to talk about protecting our business, which is super important. Yeah. So, and it's just this, literally before we got on the call, I just looked and I have 26 new posts between yesterday and today.
Wow.
For me, I do try to pop in. I have a one co-coach who helps me in there. And if she answers, I don't feel the need to answer. But if she doesn't, we kind of work together, right?
Yeah, take it.
But man, it is one of the most active communities I have ever seen. And
That's amazing.
it's awesome, right? Because usually you're oh, you're trying to poke people come on, use this, no, I'm almost calm down, everybody.
Watch this video.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah. So it's pretty cool though, because it's just, I've been able to gather a group of really pretty incredible, smart, driven, creative women. And they help each other as much as I do. I'm always your ideal client's in here. So use this community to ask the questions. I may not be that person. My answer is not always the right one. I don't claim to know everything.
Yeah.
So, and they do. And it's, what do you think of my brand colors? What about this template? I made this post and it flopped. Why do you think that is? It's everything. My freebies aren't doing well. How do you start an email list? It's just everything that has to do with solopreneurship. And then we have monthly challenges. So that's one of the sleeper features that I think people like the most. And it's me just kind of saying, try these 3 types of posts this month. Here's an example. Here's a template you could use. Go do it. Or hop in your stories and I want you to try this and do this. So it's me just kind of pushing them a little bit to get out of their comfort zone. And for most people, it's sharing more of them, sharing more of their face, their voice, their stories. And having that direction and someone saying go do this and I'm going to kind of watch and share with me. Again, that accountability piece seems to be really big.
Yeah. And where do you come up with these ideas? Because Instagram's always changing their algorithm or what they're trying to do. How do you stay on top of all that so you can teach it month to month in a membership?
I mean, it really comes down, it doesn't change that much. To be super, I haven't really changed what I do at all since the beginning, and I'm just still doing quite well. I show up consistently, I provide value, and I show my face.
Yeah.
I show up consistently, I provide a ton of value, and I show my face. I haven't wavered from that. And the algorithm is still, listen, my reach is the lowest it's ever been right now, and I'm still doing fine. A lot of that, my email list, right? So even when the algorithm changes, I know I have my email list and I'm just staying the course. I'm just, but like I said, if these meme reels, they're so hot right now, I'll work them in, I'll, when I first started, it was the pointing reels, right?
I've done that.
Right? Of course, we all have, but right now, meme reels. But the meme reels, while they're fun and they're not necessarily growing my audience, it's more just it's sort of sharing that humorous side, that entertainment side to my business, where I'm less likely to get on and try to make people laugh. Like,
Mhm.
but that meme reel sort of serves as like, it can show my sarcastic or funny side
Mhm.
using a reel. So,
Yeah.
you know, I try not to get too caught up in it if I'm being super honest, and the
Yeah.
algorithm and how it's changing. I stay the course. I know that if I show up consistently, provide value, and show my face, it's going to get me to where I need to be.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that that's just the most authentic formula for social media because, again, it's very easy to get swayed into like, what do I need to do now? What should I do
Mm-hmm.
later? And you get caught up in that busyness of keeping up. And it's just
Yeah.
like, no, just show up, give
Show up.
value, and be clear about what you're talking about. Really, like, that's what's
Right.
going to make you successful.
Yeah. And just
Yeah.
move on. Like
Yeah.
don't dwell on a post. If it didn't do well, move on, learn from it. I'm always like, when a post flops, like, I'm not
Hmm.
deleting it. I'm just like, okay, maybe the timing was off. Maybe the headline was off. Like, I'll try it again another time. I'm going to move on. Because if I'm posting consistently, it's going to get buried. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There's just so much content coming out that like, it's going to move down and all is going to be well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I've never had a follower reach out and be like, wow, that post you made today bombed. Like,
That was so bad.
yeah, it was so bad. Never, literally never, because
Yeah.
people aren't paying as much attention to you as you think they are.
Yes,
You
honestly,
are.
exactly. And I always say just mind your own business. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Just focus on you. And you would never say that to somebody else. You would never comment about how poor engagement was with them or how amazing it
Never.
was, right? Like just stay in your lane. Just keep doing what
Yeah.
you're doing. And if you see something that you're inspired by, fantastic.
Yep. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very big world of social media out there, but honestly having you as someone that I follow and look up to for Canva inspiration and Instagram inspiration, it really does it's really amazing that I didn't even know you could be Canva certified. Like that's so awesome.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Canva Verified Expert. Yeah. There's only like, I think there's 55, 56 of us in the world.
That's how do you even get Canva certified? That's
Uh,
amazing.
that's the other cool thing. There's nothing you can do. They have to find you. Like, it's
Oh my
literally,
gosh.
yeah, you get an invitation in your inbox, and
Ooh,
it's
that's
like,
so exclusive.
oh my God. Yeah, exactly. And it's pretty amazing. I know people ask all the time, how can I apply? I'm like, you can't. Like, somebody within Canva has to recommend you.
That's amazing.
So it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And it just means I'm on the inside. I get to try features first. I hear about them first. I know what's coming out. I know what they're, promoting. And it's a really lovely community to be a part of. And I'm super honored to be a part of
Wow.
it.
You know what? Honestly, it sounds incredible. And
Yeah.
it's been an honor even having you on the show because I'm like, oh my God, I have a celebrity on my show today.
Oh my God, stop. No way. No
Honestly, I'm
way.
like, I see you all the time. I'm like, wow, like Emily has her shit together. This is so cool. This is so amazing. And
Oh
I'm
my
just so
gosh.
happy that you're able to come on the show, share, and give us a lot of really amazing tips for all of the female entrepreneurs that are out there. It is
Yeah.
so appreciated.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Of
for having me on.
course.
I'm honored.
Of course. Is there anything that you would like to leave us off with before we conclude today?
No. I mean, if you want to follow me, it's at _creative_bodega. My website is thecreativebodega.com. I do have this wonderful membership called the Content Coven. Doors open a couple times a year. You can hop on the wait list. As far as what's coming up for me, I have a live course coming up in mid-September. I'm not sure when this is coming out. That is
Oh,
how
it'll
to
come out before then.
Okay, great. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's called How to Start and Grow Your Email List from Scratch.
Ah,
So
amazing.
I'm very, I harp on all of my members and clients, like, you got to have an email list. So it's a 4-week kind of in and out, and I'll teach you everything I know about starting and growing an email list.
Amazing.
I'm excited about that.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
sharing today. It
of
was a
course.
pleasure chatting. And for all of
Thank
our
you.
followers, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you at the next episode. Thank you for tuning in to the Empower Her Collective show. We hope you found inspiration and valuable insights from today's episode. If you're ready to take your business and your well-being to the next level, we would love to help you on your journey. Don't forget to join our free Facebook community linked below for ongoing support and resources. And if you're looking for personalized guidance, book a one-on-one call with me, also linked below. Let's balance your brain, your body, and your business so we can continue to empower you and elevate you to success. We'll see you at the next episode.